Hello, fellow fighters. I just wanted to talk today about fighter progression, talking about just the dynamic aspect of our sport and what you need to become a better battlefield fighter. I will be focusing on the 5 versus 5 melees in my discussion today, so just be aware of that. That is mostly my realm of expertise. That's what I enjoy the most, and that's what I'll be focusing on. So one of the things that I want people to truly understand is the unique aspect of our sport. There is nothing like it out there. We have no ball we are trying to move. We have no positions that we are in. We have 5 dynamic fighters against 5 dynamic fighters. So that is a really unique aspect of our sport that doesn't exist anywhere else. I think the closest thing that we have is rugby that comes even anywhere near that. And I just love their body styles. I love that each of their athletes they're all around really good athletes. They move well. They're strong. They're powerful. That's why I feel that's the only sport that even comes close to what we do. One of the things that I will talk about is your level of interest. What do you want to get out of this? Are you going to be a fighter that's just doing this for casual entertainment? This is fun. That's awesome. That's great. I love that. You have the option to be a world-class athlete in this. The pool is so small right now. You can put in a year or 2 of training and be at the top of the world as far as being in a great team goes. So obviously your environment plays a role in that. I encourage you guys all to move to Seattle and come train with Iron Phoenix, but that's another aspect of it. So thinking about how you progress as a fighter starts with your fitness. Nothing is more important as far as the battlefield goes as your fitness. Strength should be on everybody's mind right from the beginning of this. It is the bottleneck of fitness. It takes a year to 2 years of consistent strength training to be a strong, powerful athlete. Next up is agility. Agility is one of those things that is going to kind of make or break how you move on the battlefield. Moving on the battlefield is obviously this, a huge piece of everything we do. We have these different size fields, big fields, small fields. So you got to be able to be consistent in terms of how you get around on them. Endurance is super huge for what we do. So much grappling, so much movement, so much long days of fighting. Endurance becomes a big piece of how we train. So the two sides of our endurance is our aerobic endurance and our anaerobic endurance. Our aerobic endurance is basically that whole day of fighting, being able to maintain a high level of performance through that whole day. And our anaerobic capacity is just recovery from one battlefield to the next. Every fighter should be able to go out there for 3 fights and put up a solid performance. Obviously, there are going to be scenarios where you're going to be a little roughed up, especially if you're late in a fight and you grind down to a grueling one-on-one match in a 5-on-5. Those are times where maybe you do run out of energy, but you should have a fast recovery between those fights. Power is another huge aspect of this. Power is how we generate our power for strikes. It's how we explode into our opponents. It's even a huge piece of grappling, being able to throw an opponent over our hips or be able to move people around. Power is still another big piece of what we do. So some of the skills that we desperately need to train when we are doing our weekly practices or daily practices, grappling should be number 1 on the menu. That is, every fight you ever watch, you will always see grappling. So being proficient in how to defend yourself against standard grappling moves and knowing how to do how to perform and how to put people down quickly. That's a big piece of grappling. You should learn how to grapple on a rail. You should learn how to grapple in an open field and staying up. One of the things that we train is it's a loss if you go down with another fighter. So you are always looking for that advantage of you putting your opponent down, not going down with them. Strikes are the next piece of it. So strikes are a huge part of what we do in our training. I think it's a big piece, especially as the Americans right now, a lot of us come from a background of medieval fighting that is more based on speed than power. Well, our sport is completely different. Steel fighting is all about power and less about speed. You are actually trying to do damage to people. You are trying to kind of put some fear into them, make them force themselves to defend themselves, to create those openings to put people down through grappling, or maybe they just fall down because they're tired of getting hit. So those strikes are a big aspect of our training. If you can punch somebody in the face and they go down, you just expended very little energy to gain a huge advantage on the battlefield. Battlefield awareness is one of the harder things to train. You do need a group of people. You do need 2, 3, 4 guys to help with you. So, and that can be trained in any way. You need 0 equipment to work on your battlefield awareness. You can do 3 guys just working on grappling against each other. 4 guys, you can do 2-on-2, no equipment needed. Once you do add maybe some of that soft kit stuff, that will give you an extra layer of aggression. You know, you can be a little more physical. You got a little more safety gear on, so you can be, you know, a little more punchy, a little more kicky. You know, you can kind of throw people around a little bit more. So that soft gear does help with that aggression, and I think that's a great intermediate between the full armor. So full armor is where it's at. You know, that's where you can throw solid strikes, even against your friends. You could do those full grapples, throw people to the ground hard. Their armor should be protecting them. So obviously we don't want to hurt, especially our friends, especially the people we're training with. But there is a level of progression, and the only way you're ever going to get battlefield awareness is being able to train in those groups. So that is a huge aspect of that. Lastly, I want to talk about is just kind of your body type. You know, body type is something that kind of gets talked about. A lot of people think you need these big giant human beings to do well on here. You look at all the Eastern Europeans, the Russians, the Belarus, the Ukrainians. They're all the best in the world, and they're tiny. You know, I wouldn't say tiny. Some of them are decent sized, but they're not huge. They're not big guys. They're fast. They're powerful. They're smart. They're all super fit. So these are what we're looking for. I would say most of those guys are between 180 and 220 as far as size goes. So not very big, especially not compared to the American teams. We tend to be pretty gigantic with our people. So one of the things that I recommend is be aware of where your body type is at. Being 300 pounds on the battlefield, all that does to you makes you need to wear more armor, so you're already going to be heavier, plus carrying around 300 pounds of body weight across a day of fighting, you're going to get worn down. That energy level is going to drop fast. One of the things I'll recommend to you guys is test yourself. Do 100 burpees sometime. Throw on all your armor, do 100 burpees again, see the performance difference. So that type of stuff does make a difference. So my recommendation is try to be in that 200 to 250 range. Anytime getting beyond that 250 range, again, I think you're losing performance. Obviously, there's going to be outliers. There's going to be small guys that are going to do great. There's going to be giant guys that are going to do great. I'm not saying it's useless. I'm just saying that I don't think it optimizes your performance on the battlefield. And height is another aspect of it. Again, being taller is beneficial. You know, you can't get away from your genetics, so you got to work with what you got. You can be a great small fighter. You can be a shitty tall fighter, but you do get that advantage with height. But so that's part of that battlefield awareness, and part of our training is understanding how your body works on the battlefield. So again, this is just a quick little snippet on fighter progression. Think about how you guys want to progress as a fighter. You should be training 7 days a week if you want to be that world-class sword fighter. If not, maybe train 3 or 4 days a week. You do want to keep safe on the battlefield, so that does require a minimum level of fitness. So think about all this stuff. If you guys have any questions, always ask me. Forging the Path is our Facebook page, is our YouTube channel. So check us out, share us with your friends. Again, always questions, always encouraged. Please share this out to your friends. Hopefully it will give them some extra insights into fighting. Talk to you guys later.